Hello. Thank you all so much for being here on this rainy day. I want to begin by taking a moment to become aware of the exits. There's an exit there, where many of you came in, and an exit on the opposite side. Please also turn off your cell phones. My name's Emily Coates. I am an associate professor in theater studies and at the School of Drama, and the director of the Dance Studies concentration at Yale. I would like to take an opportunity to thank Co-op High School, the fabulous staff, which includes students who have helped support this production. I'd also like to thank, within theater studies, the home program for Yale Dance Theater, my colleagues Dan Harrison, who is the chair of theater studies, and our business manager and senior administrator, Nicole Slaba and May Brantley, who have supported my work to support this work. We have a student producer, Jack McAuliffe, who's done wonderful work, and someone who didn't make it into the program, Chris West, who's up helping Tom Delgado in the lighting booth. I'd also like to recognize the dance faculty whose teaching helps to ground this initiative in the curriculum. This semester, it's Lasina Koulibaly, Iren Hultman, and Brian Siebert. Lastly, I want to recognize the funding that makes this possible, the Arts Discretionary Fund in Yale College, and a special fund new this year, the Robert Wallace Fund for Dance Studies. Yale Dance Theater is a practice-based research initiative that extends the teaching of the dance studies curriculum through semester-long studio-intensive investigations into the work of major choreographers. YDT, as we call it, emphasizes artistic practice as process, not product, which means that this lecture demonstration is not a culmination or an end. It's simply where we are on April 20th. And we're going to be sharing with you a window into that process the students have been engaged in with our teaching artists over the course of the semester since January. The choice to focus on Bill T. Jones occurred in concert with the decision inside LGBT Studies at Yale to honor him with the James Brudner Memorial Prize. And this prize is awarded annually to an accomplished scholar, artist, or activist whose work has made significant contributions to LGBT studies and LGBT communities. I want to thank Inderpal Graywall and the Brudner committee members for recognizing his important body of work, and by association for recognizing dance. D-Man premiered in 1989 at the height of the AIDS crisis. The dance expresses, indeed it builds into its very choreographic fibers, the strength and resilience required of a community in the face of profound loss. In a very real way, as you will see, the choreography contains both threat and rescue, precarity and support. Lessons abound in the movement's design. To execute the dance, you must show up, value collective effort, and trust in others. It's hard in 2019 to imagine 1989, especially if you hadn't yet been born, and to imagine the urgent context in which this dance emerged. We had help. We had two incredible teaching artists in Jamal Barnes and Catherine Cabine, both former members of the Bill T. Jones Company, who have led the bulk of the staging this semester. Their strength, fortitude, fierce communication skills have been a shining light in this process. Catherine is going to be leading you through the performance demonstration that will come later. We also had a screening of a documentary film that's coming out in 2020. It's called Can You Bring It? Bill T. Jones and D-Man in the Waters, directed by Rosalind LeBlanc, a dear friend of mine, and Tom Hurwitz. We're going to be showing you an excerpt of that film at the start of this show. And lastly, we had the help of Bill T. Jones himself, who, in an extraordinary circumstance enabled by the Brudner Prize and his visit to campus, stopped by a YDT rehearsal. Frankly, he scared the crap out of everyone. But in doing so, he set the bar for what the students then understood they needed to aspire toward. He set the bar for the dance, and it's toward that that they have been striving since his visit in February. You're going to see a film clip from the documentary that will be followed by a performance demonstration led by Catherine Cabine. And then we will end with a Q&A with the dancers and Catherine. Thank you so much for being here.
It wasn't just dance for dance sake. It never was.
Was it good art or was it something else? I think it was both, actually.
Former colleagues, former dancers were getting sick and dying. Designers, composers, collaborators. So it was happening all around us.
AIDS has taken a devastating toll on the artistic community.
In some areas, it's starting to look like a plague.
People were dying left and right.
Huck Snyder, who was a designer, died, and Willie Smith, who had done the costume, and Keith Haring, who had done the sets, and Alvin Ailey, who had commissioned works, and the list went on and on, in addition to the several dancers in our small company.
This is of just keeping going. What is the next work? What are we going to do? We were still a working company. We were not the AIDS company.
When we understood Arnie had AIDS, at first I didn't really understand what that meant. And then slowly, of course, lots of friends of Bill's and Arnie's were dying. And slowly I started to understand what that meant.
I think most of us who had been sexually active for the 5-10 years before assumed that we were infected with HIV. Like, I was tested in '85, so I had known already for 4 years.
I remember all of us at Bill and Arnie's house. Janet talks about how the company was like a family, and it felt like losing a family member.
It went from sort of changing the world and dazzling with our virtuosity and our outrageousness to, oh God, how are we going to get through this? Demon in the Waters was a way of making sense out of a chaotic universe where bad things happen to good people.
This was a work that was begun literally within the months of Arnie dying. I remember us being in the studio and me asking everyone how they would go into a body of water.
It's tumultuous and swimming against tides. Boom, 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 boom. That.
It was such an exciting process. It was like playing.
Every single movement we did had some story behind it.
All of those men that were really struggling, I saw them as fighting for something, struggling.
It starts, in this place of revving up, and then it goes like this. Then you go crazy inside of it, da 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 da, and then you go into this head, and the piece takes you through this journey, and then you have to break through a kind of like place inside of yourself that says, I've got to keep going.
There was some healing, cathartic ritual in the making and the doing of this dance that sustained us.
The piece is called Deep Men in the Waters, but they're dressed in army fatigues. The canvas of it is that struggle that's inspired the piece in the very beginning.
Most of us were going to go over the waterfall, but in the meantime, we were caught in the business of swimming and saving. It's as if now, in memory, it's like Damien sort of came out of the mist.
Damien was a member of the company.
I actually called him D-Man.
D-Man, that's Janet, the way she used to say it.
Families make nicknames for people.
His physical projection was amazing.
He was wild and fun and always crazy outfits.
We would joke that he could work a piece of fabric, work a rag, we said. Damien would be in the corner just wrapping something in different ways. Always a boy, but always a bit of a devilish boy. And the dancing was also that way.
Every time we performed, I would stand right beside him in the wing to calm me down, because he would always just calm me down. Anything. I just wanted to be right next to him before any show.
Well, anytime.
I remember Damien and I went back to the locker room or the dressing room, whatever it was. He very nonchalantly lifted his arm and said, "Sean, what do you think this is?" And I looked at it, and I knew exactly what it was.
And I said, Damien, are you taking AZT? And he was like, oh, yeah.
I took a lot of pictures on the road. I noticed Damien was fast asleep on the steps. And I don't know what possessed me to do this, but I took the camera, my little Instamatic camera, out of my bag, and I took a picture of Damien asleep on the cold stone steps in his leather jacket and his blonde hair. And in my head and in my heart, I knew there was a fork in the road. This was the beginning of the end.
Arnie had, quote, lost his fight, but there were people like Damien who were in the waters struggling. D-Man in the waters, he is swimming, and he is swimming brilliantly. And, I told him, you will be on stage at the Joyce. It was a big deal. I think it was spontaneous. Come on, Damien, let's do this. I'll carry on. All you have to do is do the arms at the end.
He was pretty sick, and he looked pretty sick. And I think that was one of our concerns about, should he be on stage or not.
Damien was a member of this dance company, and God damn it, he was gonna dance, even if he couldn't walk.
And I just remember looking at it, and you're so happy for that moment. You're so filled with joy, and you're so sad because you know that this is probably the last time he'll be on the stage in this manner.
I did appreciate the courage that it took for Bill to take the risk of offending people.
It was a very important moment. It was a big moment that I didn't know for years how big it had been. everyone sitting and watching it are part of the story. People were absolutely mesmerized and shocked.
How do you feel about the dance?
I like it. It's a beautiful piece. I think it's one of his best pieces. He did a good job on it.
Do you feel like it's yours somehow, or does
In a way, I do, yeah.
Something light and fun to start your weekend with, we thought would be appropriate. My name is Catherine Cabine. Thank you so much for being here today and taking a part of your weekend to join us in our exploration and celebration of Bill T. Jones' 1989 masterpiece, D-Man in the Waters. I danced with the Bill T. Jones Arnie Zane Dance Company from 1997 until 2005, and D-Man was an active part of our repertory for that entire time. In 2005, when I left the company, I oversaw the first reconstruction of the work on college students, which was done at SUNY Purchase. This opportunity to work with Yale Dance Theater is my 21st opportunity to engage with college students in the depth and beauty of this work. Every time I engage with this piece, it is an honor. And I have an incredible opportunity to learn more about the work, more about myself, and more about the world that we all inhabit. As you saw in the excerpt of the documentary, the original cast of the work was facing a challenge that was at once personal, communal, and also political. The urgency of this struggle manifests in D-Man in the Waters as a stunning embodiment of our human capacity to transform pain into joy through the vehicle of community and human connection. Bill has said that D-Man is about, quote, life throwing down the gauntlet and you rising to the occasion. The choreography speaks through a robust movement vocabulary and the relentless vitality of Mendelssohn's Octet in E-flat major, and quite a bit of daredevil partnering. To teach this dance is to teach a great deal more than the choreography. The how and the why of the steps are as important as the what. There are three prerequisites, if you will, in this academic environment, to learning the choreography of D-Man. The first is mindfulness. The work asks us to be present in our bodies and minds, to be able to focus on the here and now, to be ready for anything. The second is a foundation in a variety of dance techniques that support the formal structure of the movement and the architecture of the choreography. The third is a willingness to open one's heart to the joy of being of service. A willingness to get one's own ego out of the way so as to experience yourself as part of something larger. This work speaks to the preciousness and ephemerality of life itself and the value of every moment that we have here together. Today, we are going to share with you how we trained our bodies and minds in these practices over the last few months, and then we're also going to share some excerpts of the choreography that framed this exploration. I'm actually going to ask you in the audience to join us in the beginning of this practice. So if you are able, I'm going to invite you to stand. And if you're not able to stand, then you could just scoot forward a little bit to the front of your chair. Whether you are standing or seated, I invite you to tune in to the sensation in the soles of your feet. Stand down through your feet. Feel your weight grounding you through the floor into the earth. Without losing that grounding into the earth, feel the crown of the head lift up past the ceiling of the room, past the roof of the building, past the clouds that are covering the sky. Feel yourself tethered between the earth and the sky, and tune into the sensation of your breath. Notice where you feel that breath in your body, in your nostrils, in your throat, in your chest, perhaps in your belly. You might also notice where you do not feel that breath in your body. Tension in your neck, in your shoulders, in your hands, in your face, and invite that breath to soften those parts of your body. Stay with that sensation of your breath. Our analytical minds love words, but our bodies speak to us through the language of sensation and emotion. So as you tune into those sensations, try to resist the urge to label them and really feel yourself being here and now. I'm going to go ahead and ask you to blink your eyes back open if they're closed. Thank you so much for joining us in that moment. Have a seat. Don't forget that you're still breathing, yeah? You can hold that with you as a way to connect what's happening on stage to your own bodies, right? We're all breathing the same air in this room. Dancers, let your next breath in guide your arms out and up over your head. As you exhale, dive forward over your legs. Inhale, lengthen the crown of the head towards the center of the room. And as you exhale, step your right leg behind you. Inhale, reach your arms out and up over your head. And as you exhale, press the floor away. Inhale, expand the shape, bending your front knee. And as you exhale, lengthen the right side of the body, bringing the left hand to your hip. Inhale, back to the center. And exhale, twisting your spine, bringing your palms together, sending your eyes up past the sky. Inhale, back to the center, grounding yourself through the soles of your feet. And exhale, hands to the floor, step back to downward facing dog. Inhale, shift forward to a plank. And exhale, lower yourself halfway to the floor. Inhale, bring your heart forward. And exhale, tuck your toes, shifting your weight back. Inhale, reach the right leg up towards the sky. And exhale, swing it through in between your hands. Inhale, reach your arms out and up. And exhale, step together, catching your hands behind your back. Inhale, bend the knees, swing your arms up, hook your thumbs, opening the front body. And exhale, draw your center line, standing a little taller than how you began. Left side, deep breath in. Follow your own breath. This simple moon salutation from Vinyasa Yoga allows the dancers to find how that grounding and extension through the crown can maintain itself through moving in different positions. It gives them an opportunity to connect their breath with their movement, and also then to coordinate their own breath with the breath of the people around them. These patterns also wake up and mobilize some of the major joints in the body. Many of those joints are full of synovial fluid, which is thick and viscous when it's cold, and it becomes more liquid as it heats up. So the breath and the movement is also a way to build heat in the body, which increases mobility. At the same time, these exercises require balancing strength and stability in the body. One of the things that we talk about a lot as dancers is finding ways to balance our use of mobility and stability. And after finding that grounding and centeredness in ourselves, we begin to stir up the space around us. Dancers are going to start with a simple, very postmodern walk through the space to stir up the energy all around them. This is also a part of class where it's very important that they begin to open their eyes to see each other, to know that they are with each other in this space. We talk a lot in Bill T. Jones' repertory about a social focus. We try to actually see each other as we dance with each other, and they're also coached to look at you in the same way, that we're all equal in this space. We're all invited. As they start to pick up the pace, they have to make choices faster. Their bodies are pushed to respond to danger, to edges, a little bit faster, as well as increasing their heart rate, starting to push that cardiovascular edge that's going to be required in the work. As a group, they feel the edge of that danger and then begin to slow down. In all of these tempos, I always ask them not to walk in circles, but to make choices about their path, which is one of the ways that dance training offers good advice for life outside of the studio as well. We're gonna then spread ourselves out and move into a series of exercises that will have some music and rhythmic accompaniment, so then we have an opportunity to coordinate our breath with musicality. So Sunny, you can go ahead and play that first track. These exercises support the work, which as a postmodern dance piece uses a lot of pastiche, meaning that it uses movement vocabulary from a number of different techniques and idioms throughout history. So ballet, which is a classic Europeanist aesthetic, uses the external rotation of the legs that you see here, and also a lot of the gestures and sculptural movement of the arms. It's an opportunity for the dancers to organize their bodies in relation to a presentational form, as opposed to the yoga exercises, which are an internal form. This shift in their upper body from the controlled port de bras to the relax and release of it is a reference to all of the work that Bill did with Trisha Brown, who very much investigated the weight of our limbs and the rhythm that is inherent in our joints and how our bones connect. Everything in a dance class is an accumulation. So we're still grounded through the soles of our feet. We're still reaching through the crown of our head. We are still breathing. And adding to it mobilization of the torso, an awareness of the core and center, and also musicality. Intersperse opportunities to play and improvise within our structures. In this game, the dancers are feeling the texture of the floor with their feet and letting that lead the movement and the rest of the body. 1, 2, and out. Turn it in, turn it out. Good. So this is a sequence of exercises that helps with the articulation of the feet and also the strengthening of the feet, which helps build towards jumping and running safely, which is a lot of what we do in the choreography of D-Man in the Waters. It also helps to reinvigorate that organization of the body, shifting weight from one leg to the other. All of that grounding that we were finding on both legs before now has to be transferred into one leg. And then after really massaging the floor with our feet, we do that with our whole body. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and classical ballet and other Europeanist aesthetics prioritize a vertical alignment of the body. Modern dance and a lot of non-Western forms release that verticality and use a lot more horizontal organization and a really different relationship to the earth. So we, in Bill T. Jones' work, often train juxtaposing those ideas, juxtaposing this verticality with an embrace of the earth and a softening of the body. Our weight from one leg to the other, finding a faster shift between the grounding and the gesture in our lower body. I also have the dancers facing in multiple directions at this part in the work, which is a little bit of a shout out to Merce Cunningham, who just celebrated what would have been his 100th birthday. His work was a lot about decentralizing the stage, breaking up this idea of a front, and kind of making every facing equal, every part of the stage equal. 2, 2, 2. Walk it out. Again, we stir up the space. Yeah, find a new grounding. See each other. Remember that we're not alone. And get ready for our next idea. I'm going right into the next track. 5, and crown. This particular exercise is called taking the spine for a ride. It functions to try to create a spine that is as articulate as our feet were on those other exercises. It also focuses on having a clear point of initiation for the movement in the torso, so that the dancers are really pushing a point of initiation and then asking the rest of their body to listen to that point of initiation. We start the exploration grounded so that we can really feel the range of our kinesphere, which is the sphere of movement that we take up when our feet are still. And then we start to break through that kinesphere and travel into space. Still with that same idea of musical structure and initiation and follow through. But now we add to the dancer's awareness of their own body, an awareness of the space around them. In dance as a structured improvisation. So the dancers are making choices of their own, but there is a structure that they're following. There is always a clear point of initiation, and there is a musical structure in which they are making choices. That said, there's no right or wrong to their choices. But in that, there's an opportunity to practice committing to every choice that is made. We then take this movement and start to really move it across space so that we can engage in locomotion and see if we can maintain the organization of our body while we consume space. You'll also see in this next exercise all of that footwork that we were doing translating into jumps, and also the work in and out of the floor that we were doing translating into an exit that slides into the wings, which is a direct quote from D-Man choreography. Sunny, we can have that next track. 5, 6, 7, 1. So now there isn't as much time to make that grounding happen. So the dancers have to speed up their relationship to their sensation in the soles of their feet and their understanding of the organization of the body in motion as opposed to in stillness. 6, 7, and 1. We move on from all of the connecting we've been doing with one another across space and with our eyes, and we move into skin-to-skin contact. A lot of Bill's work is based in contact improvisation, which is a dance form that came out of the 1960s, and it disrupted a lot of the ideas that are common in Western social dance, in which there is a lead and a follow. In contact improvisation, everyone is leading and everyone is following all of the time in response to the point of connection that binds the people together. All of the movement is improvised around that point of connection. When we teach contact improvisation, we start with a very light touch, waking up and illuminating the skin so that it can become a conductor, and the dancers can really start to hear how much information is carried in touch. We then shift into what is called flesh contact, which is like a firm handshake, which you can imagine has a little bit of personality to it, and a little bit more investment. And then from there, we continue to raise the stakes into bone contact, where the full weight of the body is engaged. And that full weight of the body can be engaged through pressing together, through lifting, and also through what's called a counter pull, stretching away from one another. Excellent. Thank you, dancers. Thank that posse, and then find your next friend. So it's important in partnering and group activity as we build towards working on the choreography to shift from having confidence in the choices that you're making yourself to having confidence in the choices you're making as a group. And this simple trust fall is another way that we start to train that confidence in one another. So you can see that the person falling is blind. They cannot see the person who's catching them. And you'll notice also that the dancers start very close to one another so that the person falling can just know that someone is there for them. And then they start to wait a little bit longer, step away, catch them a little bit later, so that we can, together as a group, increase our capacity for risk-taking. This exercise requires, first of all, that you trust other people. But one of the most valuable things I've found in teaching it is that it also asks people to trust themselves, to know that they can support and catch other people. We then start to turn different directions to connect a little bit more directly into what the choreography is going to ask us for. Good. Next time, everyone is safe on their own feet. Good. I'm going to ask everyone to exit except for Kathleen and Rachel. And now we're going to move a little bit more into direct references to the choreography. These two dancers are going to help us demonstrate, extra dance here, as Scott's little something, contact improv. It's like this. So this is what we call the tuck duet, which is a part of the choreography. And when we learn partnering, we always have to start at the beginning. And also with individuals, even once they know the full choreography, every day we start at the beginning because every single one of us is a different person. Our bodies are different, our minds are different. And so when you work with others, it's really important to spend some time tuning into them. So in this particular movement, we're going to start by Rachel's just going to jump up on Kathleen's back so that she can feel her weight. She knows what she's catching. Rachel knows that she can be caught, and it's just going to hop off. Then we're going to get into that position by using the counter pull that I was talking about earlier. So they're going to pull away from each other in order to go. Nice. Good. And then just come on down. Good. We would do that like 200 times. And then we would learn the dismount from the lift, where the person who's the base actually pops the other person off so that we have a really sort of active beginning and end punctuation kinesthetically. Go for it. Good. Awesome. So then I want to show you how that particular kind of movement mixes in with Mendelssohn's musicality. So we're going to try that with the music, yeah? Thanks, Sunny. So you can see that there's a strong requirement to work together. Everyone also needs to be at their own personal best. And that's something that is really juicy to work on in a community as well. So a group of dancers are going to come out now. Bill T. Jones is a very collaborative choreographer. He often sources movement from the dancers who are in his piece. So most of the base movement phrases in D-Man in the Waters are named after the dancers in the original cast who actually originated the movement. So this is Janet's phrase, which is Janet Lilly is the dancer who created the movement phrase. And in it, you'll see a lot of the things that you saw earlier in the class structure in terms of architecture of the body, release of weight in the arms, and a sense of expressive gesture. So we're going to do just the phrase all together here. 5, 6, ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, reach out, 7, 8, jump, 1, 2, catch, 3, 4, 5, 6, catch, 7, and 1, 2, down, up, 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 and back, and up, and turn, and folding, falling in, back, lines, curves, reach. Excellent, good. So then again, we're gonna show you how this gets broken up within the Mendelssohn music, and also engaging entrances and exits, which are designed to sort of make the space look infinite, so that we're not caught in the space of the stage, but that this is a dance that you can imagine going on beyond these walls. Sunny, we can have that next track, thank you. Excellent, thank you, thank you. Good, so the group of dancers is gonna come back out, and we're gonna show you Damien Fraze, which is named after Damien Acquavella, who you're introduced to in the documentary. And this is a very specific count structure, which you will catch on to right away. Here we go all together. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good, 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 good. All right. Now we're going to show you that phrase emerges many times within the work, and what we're going to show you is one way that we engage it, splicing it with the trust falls that we also showed you earlier. This section is affectionately referred to as bull in the china shop. It's another section which, like the partnering, we start in a very intimate, small, safe space. Here we go. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good, 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 good. So then as we work on this section, we did it that way 200 times, and then we asked the dancers to move out to make it a little bit more exciting for all of us. Yeah? Here we go. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Excellent, excellent. Good. So again, then we're going to show you this excerpt. You're going to keep that spacing. And we're going to show you that excerpt with Mendelssohn's music, and we're also going to go on with the choreography a little bit so that you can also see another way that Janet's phrases reintroduced into the choreography. Thank you, Sunny. Thank you, dancers. Good, good, good. All right, and the last thing that we're going to break down for you is a lift that is affectionately referred to as Supergirl. This is a lift that eventually involves only 3 people who are in the choreography, but because of the high risk involved and the sheer terror, we always remember that even when there are only 3 people physically involved, that everyone's energy is always a part of supporting this movement. And so to sort of underscore that, I have everyone in the cast physically present when we first start to work on it. Also similar to what you saw in the tuck duets, we break it down into stages. So the first thing that you're gonna see is Kyla is gonna jump up on Alika's back and just fall. Great. So then she can feel that the community has her, that she is supported, and then she's ready to add a little bit of a jump into it. Great. And then just like in the tuck duets, the last step is that the bass, Alika in this case, also has a little bit of a pop in her back, which it was the same thing that allowed the dismount in the tuck duets. And here it allows a little bit more of an exciting launch. Great. Then, after we do that 200 times, we start to remove the supports. And in rehearsal, we do that 1 at a time. Today, we're just gonna break it down to involving these 5 people. Let's do it. Excellent, excellent. So if we had another 6 months to work on this piece, eventually those 2 downstage women would also go away, and it would just be Matthew doing the catch. For the next excerpt that we're going to show you, though, I am going to leave those spotters in just for liability purposes. So this cast that is going to run a longer excerpt is now going to spend a little bit of time just making eye contact with one another and doing that sort of tuning that I talked about before. Jamal Barnes and I, who did the bulk of this reconstructive work, taught 9 minutes and 42 seconds of the choreography to these dancers as a framework for all of our explorations. D-Man in the Waters is a 35-minute piece. So 9 minutes and 42 seconds is just sort of the beginning breath, but we're gonna run that sequence straight through now so that you can sort of have a sense of the momentum that builds with that musicality. And you'll be able to hopefully see all of the things that we broke down and how they sort of fit into that larger picture. All right, dancers ready? All right. Hold on, let me remove the tripping hazard. Okay, solid. So when I was in graduate school, I was told by a dear friend one should never share the stage with children or animals because they will always upstage you. Perfect. Thank you. Excellent. Very well done. Great. And then I'm going to invite the dancers to come towards the front, and we can maybe get some house lights up, and we have a few minutes for questions. I invite questions for the dancers as well as myself, whatever is burning for you. Questions, comments. Don't all speak at once now. Yes.
I guess this is for any of the dancers, but as you mentioned, 1989 was a long time ago, and probably a lot of people on the stage were, or everyone on the stage wasn't on board with that. Do you feel like you got more of an understanding of what that context was like by dancing this that you wouldn't have gotten just by watching that movie?
So the question is about the historic relevance of the piece and the intensity of 1989, and did embodying this work change your understanding of it versus watching a documentary or reading about it or something like that? Yeah?
I can speak to that. Please. We talked a lot about this, and so I think at first my immediate reaction was, it does give you a sense of like survival at a very and pushing through, but you can't totally understand, right? Like it wasn't my lived experience. But on the other hand, there are a lot of moments in the piece that really highlight the actual loss that was being experienced by the company at the time. That I've seen this piece before, performed, and I didn't know that. And that wasn't clear from the documentary either, which we did get to see as well. So that did help to kind of bring it home in a really real way. There's a part where there's two couples kind of coming in and out of the stage. And this is blank, and that was because of the dynamics with what was happening with Damien. And that was left intentionally kind of blank. So there were those moments that did become very more real for me at least. Sorry.
Keep breathing. Yeah, there's a lot of asymmetry in the formal structure of the work that was actually originally symmetrical and is a response to that loss. Yeah.
One of the things that I really observed with this whole piece is the connectedness that it is about. And I'm sure, and I'd like you to express your feelings, how that connectedness worked with you all in this piece.
What I think is fantastic about dancing is that metaphors become reality. And there's a poetry in movement and in physical contact that that has the urgency of real life in it. And I have set this work many, many times. This is one of very few times that I have done this work and no one has gotten injured in rehearsal. Good job, dancers. Yeah. Very often, though, the partnering is truly dangerous. And so if people are not present in their bodies and their minds, especially, you can really tell. This is a particularly interesting group of dancers because they come from so many different disciplines across Yale College. And so there's a wisdom that each of them bring to the process and engagement, which made our conversations really multifaceted and interesting because they are all coming at the work every day from a very different space. But I would say, I mean, Jamal and I spent the whole first month just on building community and training modules that had to do with trust and relationship. And think before we even touched the choreography, I think, pretty much. Maybe we learned a phrase, yeah. But there was a lot of time that we spent engaging in that way. So I'm very thankful to the dancers who are here for their commitment to the project, because it can't really happen without that. When people don't show up or are there physically but not mentally, then other people get hurt. So as a director, I try to really stay aware of that and respond to that and work people to their limits, knowing that everyone's limit is different. Yeah, and that's something that we also have to practice being humble and communicating about, which is another part of community, right? Being honest and saying, not today. Right? So I think there were several times when I would say, look each other in the eyes, say no, right? Like when we're first learning the lifts and running through things. I'd love it though if any of you dancers as a part of the process want to speak to that building community, because I think in the very beginning we talked about, you know, do you guys know each other? And many of you did not. Some of you did, but many of you did not. So what was that process like for you when I was like, catch this person you've never spoken to?
I'll speak to this. I think actually, like, when I really felt community being built, obviously this piece is really cardiovascularly intensive, and we're all just like pretty exhausted by the end, and you're still having to like pick your friends up. But like this week being in the theater and like being in the wings and getting to have those moments of like looking at each other and being like, okay, like we're gonna keep going, and like finding those moments in the show where I knew I'm gonna get to look at Marielle right towards the end, and we like have this little smile with each other, and I'm like, okay, we're almost there, like we're gonna keep going. So the community, not just in like physically like touching each other and picking each other up and like partnering, but also in just being there like emotionally in the moment and like encouraging each other is really important.
Any other dancers want to speak to that? And I think sort of that presence with each other, as Kathleen and I were doing the duets, and it really is true that every single time you do it, it feels so different. Like once we like get together and come apart, we always like feel the same way about how that particular thing went, and so much of it was like that dialing into a rhythm that like worked for us, you know, it wasn't just, there is a particular rhythm in which like the videos that we watched and we worked off of carried, but that rhythm wasn't our rhythm, and like finding that, and then even, I feel like we have a bunch of partnering in the piece, and like at the start of every rehearsal, and maybe that's also just like the people that Kathleen and I are, I feel like we always like embrace at the start of rehearsal and like check in with each other, just like holding each other as a way of like being present. And I think those little moments in between like small groups of people then extend out to the rest of the group.
Absolutely, and I think that connects actually to the other question about the relationship to history. The company that created this work, as they say in the documentary, was like a family. This group is not going to find that same dynamic, but they're going to find their own dynamic and their own points of connection and their own ways to support each other. Just like these people don't necessarily have an active memory of the AIDS crisis, but there are plenty of things facing our world today that are personal, communal, and political. And so we talked a fair amount about what those might be for these people. Where are the stakes in our lives today? And so that's another important thing, is to remember that this present moment also has, you know, content and risk and terror and a need for people to come together to support one another. And so we're always trying to bridge that historic truth that we're honoring through this work and our present contemporary lives. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. To that point, how has the recent shootings in New Haven affected your interpretation and your performance of this dance?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think every week we come into the rehearsal filled with different emotions, right? Different experiences. As Catherine was saying, we all come from different parts of the college, parts of the graduate schools even. And so coming to the space, we do what we did at the beginning of this show, which is we take a deep breath, we check in with one another, and that translates into what happened this past week, perhaps even more to a greater extent, because it is something that we feel even closer in our community. But I think it's just a matter of, even though we have different experiences, we know that we can trust each other to tell each other what's going on and to tell each other how we can support one another throughout this piece and outside of this piece. And so often, Rachel, I didn't know beforehand, and she's become one of my really good friends throughout this, and I know that no matter what I'm thinking, and sometimes I'm not in the mood necessarily to go and dance for 3 hours, but I know that when I see her face and when I see their faces, we're gonna foster this sense of community that really, really helps us deal with what's going on outside, and not only bring it into the studio, but harness that energy into something that is something like this, that is special.
I have a specific memory, I guess, that for me kind of was a moment where I was like, okay, these things come together. So at the rally on Thursday evening tonight, when we were on York and Elm, and in a moment where there was that huge circle around that intersection, and people, there were various chants and various things that we were saying, and one of the things we were saying was ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. And at this point it was maybe by the time I was there it was maybe 8:39, and the rally had started at 5 p.m. and so this had been going on for hours, and I was there with a couple of friends, and we were saying this, and there were moments when your voice and your body was tired, but what it sunk into me then, that not just it wasn't just our bodies that was keeping us going, but it was that movement. So there's this part in this piece that we didn't get to, but it's actually in the first part, and so it's a part of the piece that Catherine and Jamal have talked to us about, where everyone reconnects. It's quite close to the end of the first part, where everyone reconnects and you're walking and you're stepping, and Catherine has always described it to us as this moment where you look at your peers and you're like, okay, we got this, we gotta keep going. And we didn't even learn that piece, but even just by learning the rest of the piece and by seeing the way Catherine had expressed it to us, you could feel that sense. And when I was there in the circle and the rally with my friends, and we were looking at each other, and it was not just the chants by themselves, but moving with that kept us going. And this piece, this rally went all the way till 11:30 that night. That's 7 hours to be there, and I don't think our voices and our bodies could have done that without the sort of movement, and that for me just tied into the way that the things that we do in the studio and the things that we do in the theater, it's it's not just that it's a rehearsal, but in the way that as things repeat in your life, you're able to tap into it when it comes back to you again. And so having had sort of these discussions over and over again in D-Man and rehearsal, when we were there, when we were present, I was like, yeah, this is what is keeping me going, and this is how I can offer myself to my friends and the people around me so that we can all keep going together.
How was it decided which dancers would actually perform the piece? I'm wondering if they all know it.
Yes, they all know it. When we started this rehearsal process, we had 2 full cast plus 1 person. You can see it's difficult, and several of people dropped the project. So now we have 1 full cast plus a almost full cast. And so we chose to do sections that I thought featured the strongest moments for every dancer who was a part of the process. That was my call.
We have time for one more question.
Yeah.
So mentioned how having Phil T. Jones actually come to a rehearsal was a really unique sort of experience, although a challenging one. And I was wondering if the dancers, you could talk about what that was like and how that changed your trajectory for going forward.
That was a fun day.
I can start. I think it immediately was striking because up until the point where he came to rehearsal, we had talked a lot about our interpersonal dynamics. And my impression was that he came into the space and he saw the stage, and he was really concerned about the structure of the space and the structure of how we were aligned. And so for me, it was just a total kind of disorienting moment of realizing all of the multiple levels that would work within the piece beyond just, we had just gotten to the point of like getting each other on our backs and off at that point. So I think through that, it made me tap into the many iterations of this piece that he has seen over the years. He had an exact picture in his head, I thought, of his favorite iteration of each of those. And I think what was also cool is that he took it quite seriously. I think he sort of realized, he revealed moments like what April mentioned about Damien's absence in the leaps over. So he mentioned these bits of the piece that we had just seen as, oh, that's just the jump. And then we realized just the many, many levels that were at work. So I think we were all struck by the seriousness and the focus that he had. We were struck by asking him for a group photo, and he said no. But he gave this really cool explanation that was like, you guys are in the thick of it, and this moment will stick with you longer than this photo would. So just like stay hot, stay in the heat of it. So that's what I took away from it.
I think we all just experienced like how viscerally Bill felt about this piece, because I think that I expected him to come in and maybe we had like just, I think, staged like another like minute and a half of it. Like we had just learned it like the week before, and so we were like, we don't have any of the details, but it's okay. And he came in and he was very serious about like, you need these details, they mean something really, really real. And it was just clear that the piece meant so much to him that it had to be done right. And I think we all just, it really hit us in that moment, like how much there is to this.
It was a really valuable moment, I think, for all of us because, yeah, I think one of the greatest things that Bill offered me was a conversation that we had at one point where he looked me in the eyes and he said, I take you very seriously. And that was an invitation that I didn't realize I needed to take myself seriously. And he didn't perhaps use those words, but that was absolutely what he was telling you, is that this is no joke, right? It was also very important because it's easy sometimes, these people are incredibly intelligent, right? Their challenge was not memorizing what foot to step on. Like what the sequence of movements is not the challenge here. The depth and significance and gritty, visceral physicality of the movement was where the challenge was at. And Bill is someone who lives with his heart pressing against the inside of his chest all the time. And when you're in a room with him, you feel that urgency. It's contagious. And Jamal and I do a lot more yoga and meditation. We're both a little bit more chill. And so I think it was really great for Jamal and I also to watch the way that he was just like, I think there was one moment where Bill was coaching someone and they changed something and Jamal said, nice, nice. And Bill said, it's not nice, and kept going, right? And we were all just like, okay. But it's important. I think it was important for all of us to know how seriously we take this. And it really pushed Jamal and I actually to slow down even more. And we had a conversation at the end of that. We had originally come in with an idea that we would learn the first 15 minutes of the work. And after that conversation, we were like, you know what? We're gonna do as much as we can well. We're going to shift our entire focus to be quality over quantity. It does not matter that we get to this marker. It matters that we all take ourselves and the work itself really seriously the whole way. And that's something that that has, sort of also been a theme. It's the work that is the teacher in this situation. It is the work that guides, what the standards are and sort of who is doing what. The work is what it is, and it asks for a continued, renewed investment from everyone who engages with it. And I think that having Bill there was really great for all of us, to figure out how to really take that investment seriously.
Please join me in thanking this amazing group and Catherine Cabine for their bravery, courage, and rising to the bar that Bill set so highly for us. Thank you.
Thank you.